Today we go to the Alps and play some, hold on, let me start this again. Shoot. One more time. Tell him to cut this out. King Charles goes to the Alps, and Narcisse makes the ultimate sacrifice. Meanwhile, the 13 Knights are back, and Bash. Huge confession from Bash. Stay tuned as we discuss Reign.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Another Reign episode, Season 3, Episode 14. What a mic drop episode, as I like to call it. We have Alina Vision here tonight.
Hey guys, what's up? You can follow me at Alina Vision on all social media.
That's right, and Keaton is away this week. She's being Keaton.
Yeah, we'll get her back in here soon, we promise.
That's right, and I am working on JB. I think we'll get him at least one time before we wrap out the season, so
good.
You guys can look forward to that. Obviously, we love it when there's more of us, but nonetheless, you guys have been supporting me and Alina, and we've been keeping this thing going, and so, you know, that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
Today, for Cast Corner, we're going to go all the way to Poland, so look out for that. But so much to talk about. Why don't we start with England? Good old Anne Boleyn. She makes it into the episode.
I loved that. I loved that whole story about, you know, Anne Boleyn and the king, and especially the way Elizabeth was born and what happened to her. So, yeah, she came into Elizabeth's dream, and apparently that really, really haunts Elizabeth.
Absolutely, and one of the things I liked about this episode in general had a lot of great structure in terms of it started with action, action, action. Then it got really, really emotional, and then we end with, you know, the death of basically everyone. And so there's a lot going on, and we literally open up that episode, and it's a dream of hers, Elizabeth's. And I like when we dig into this history side of things,
right? And
that was fun. You know, and she's figuring out various things. You know, both there's that emotion of Robert Dudley, but then she's torn as a female ruler ultimately, and that's what's interesting to me. And now I think finally for her, she finds a balance by the end.
Right. No, she definitely does. And what I liked about this episode, and especially her storyline, was I think we got to see a different side of her. We did see like the vindictive, revengeful Elizabeth that I think we kind of were expecting, you know, at the beginning. But then during a turn of events, you actually saw, you know, she really does have a heart, and she's able to forgive people and kind of move on with her life.
Well, and also think about it this way, like she had a certain mindset about who her mother was.
Right.
And the interesting part was she still got to that place where she respected her mother, but she also learned a very horrific truth. And so to kind of take that and be like, okay, well, you know, I understand why, like, this got really deep.
It did.
Very sexual and deep.
It did, and it went places I wasn't really expecting it to go. It was a different turn, I think, than I know I was expecting it, and I liked that. I liked the fact that it got deep, and it told more of a story from their perspective of this Anne Boleyn and, you know, the Reign world, and I liked that.
Yeah, and, you know, this was very much a part of history and whatnot, and you know, CW's motto is Dare to Defy. I'm surprised this is actually before Jane the Virgin. I can only imagine, like, what Jane the Virgin's like. I know it's a great show, but I personally don't watch it. And, yeah, I mean, it takes, I mean, think about it, like, we talked about rape today.
Yeah.
And we're talking about
incest, possible incest.
Legitimate incest, but with a cause.
No, they didn't end up doing it. That's what the maid said. It got broken up. Anne Boleyn was crying too much. She didn't want to do it. It was just the fact that they had seen them laying together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, again, think of it, I can't even fathom, like, to that level, right? She's trying to appease Henry, who is psychotic. And she got to the place where she, you know, that George was the only person that she could trust. and the level of courage that took to even like contemplate that, let
So
alone like be almost so
crazy.
close.
Yeah, to think that like you have to have a son and you're willing to go sleep with your brother for that. I mean, you're in between a rock and a hard place, like seriously with that. And I don't know, I think I'm glad that Elizabeth found out that her mom really was doing it to try to protect her, and she had to go to those lengths.
Yeah, and I also respect that. I was very nervous for the maid because I hate when they just it would have been one thing had the maid actually just lied and she would kind of just been this minor character. But even within that character, they really fleshed out that whole entire story, and you can understand. As soon as she said, "Please don't ask me about that," you're like, "Oh, is it because you just lied and that's
Right.
it?" But they went that full arc.
Yeah.
For her character.
And she even had the scars to prove it. Yeah.
So I thought that was I thought really well written, and then Lola, she we always talked about how she would eventually convince Elizabeth, and now it's kind of coming into, and it doesn't feel sacrificial of what's happening with Mary at all. It's not in spite of that. It's kind of just
Its own thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think in this episode, Elizabeth really got to see how loyal Lola is. I think she kind of knew, obviously, because Mary keeps her around all the time. Mary's not going to keep around somebody who's not loyal. And the fact that Lola was willing to make somebody else, a victim of a crime, I guess you could say, at the expense of Elizabeth, and she saw that she was willing to go that far for her. And then when she got caught, I guess you could say, she didn't rat out Elizabeth. So.
I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I didn't really know where this was going, because to me, you knew that Lola was very uncomfortable about this, and so
Right.
as soon as that happened, I knew, oh God, of course it had to go this way, because if you don't have the confidence to pull it off, you're not going to pull it off.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she didn't, but then she did have the confidence to not reveal, because there's no doubt in her mind of any of it.
Right.
She wouldn't do that for Mary, and so at this point, why do it for Elizabeth?
Right. And it was actually through her not revealing that the story unfolded, because the guard wouldn't have then found the night maid, and then Elizabeth wouldn't have known the truth about what happened.
And we got to see John, who's apparently now walking.
Yeah.
Ah, man, this kid's growing up. But that's fantastic to see, because that's what was missing. She's obviously not missing Narcisse.
No.
Although he earns his stripes tonight. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. But yeah, she, now she can live a happy life.
Yeah, and I think that was really, really endearing of Elizabeth to like actually bring John back into the picture. And I don't know, it seems like they have their own sort of relationship going now that's in and of itself different than Mary's and Lola. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Mary comes to Scotland and that whole upheaval starts.
That whole dynamic.
Exactly.
I agree. All right, so let's talk about screaming people.
There were some screaming people.
Just like there's a lot of screaming people.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can understand when there's a tithe.
Tithe.
I never heard that word before.
Don't you go to church? Church? Nothing?
I'm not a church man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you tithe at church. So that's like when they pass, I don't know, in my church, when they pass the basket around, you like, put in some dollars. So people will take some of their paycheck, tithe that way. Supposed to tithe to church. But I guess this is a way of paying taxes to the royals, to the kingdom.
Yeah. When Narcisse said, "I have a strategy, but you're not gonna like it," where was your mind going? Because it's like, oh dear Lord, someone's getting killed or something.
That's what I thought. I did not think it was going to be a tithe or a tax or anything to do with the common people. I was like, somebody's getting killed. It's going to be the sleaziest thing ever. He's going to swindle money out of some other night or something like that. And then we come to find out that he just taxed everyone, and now people are irate about it.
This is in many ways more deplorable, though.
Yeah. Because they had already been tithed once before, so they don't have that money to be tithed again. So yeah, I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, and poor people or peasants, or however you want to term them, and the regular people, yeah, you know what? They don't necessarily like what you just did. And when you don't understand, I mean, here's the thing. What's always interesting to me in like this day and age, like media doesn't exist. It's not like there's a newspaper that says like, hey, anyone willing to help France, we got to pay some generals.
No.
You don't understand the reason. You're just like, well, why is my money being taken away?
Exactly.
So
what did you think he was gonna do?
I thought for sure, because he's done it before, he swindled people out of their lands, and that's what he did. That's what Lola found out about, apart from all the rats and everything else. And so, I thought he was going to go back to his old bag of tricks.
Right. That's what I thought too.
And in some way, but the interesting part was like, people will hate, a young king shouldn't do this. And I was like, okay, well, what is that? That's the part that was like, what does that mean?
Right.
So I don't know. I guess a young king doesn't want scandal either. So maybe it could have been something. I don't know.
Or maybe he meant the young king shouldn't have people already hate him so early in his reign.
Or I guess the other part, you can make some weird alliance with some country that's like, why are we friends with them?
Right.
It'd be similar to like if all of a sudden America aligned with Iran to shoot Iraq.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
How does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
But it ended up going this way, and then obviously they find out. I loved the interesting part was that this went into a deep, dark path. I mean, if you really think about it and break it down, like Charles, I don't think Francis would have ever done any of these things. And here's Charles at his age, like, nope, we're going to the Alps.
Didn't Francis gamble as well? I remember him gambling. Like when him and Lola got together, wasn't he gambling?
But that was like
it wasn't
club for boys,
right? Exactly. It wasn't putting the crown jewels pretty much on the table, on the line. That's true. I was surprised. I was really surprised. I thought, oh, okay, they're gonna go, find somebody that he knows somehow who's rich, and then they walk into pretty much a casino and he's rolling the dice.
And he had no hesitation, but he knew everything. It's one thing of like,
how old are you? How do you know this?
Absolutely, because you can imagine like, oh, you know what? There's a place in the Alps I've heard of. I've never been to it, and then you could see him, but he just went right in. He's like, all right.
He knows the lady,
and she knows him.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
So clearly he's been there before. He's a customer.
But what I liked, there was I love the distinction where he took France and put it on chance, whereas Narcisse, as bloody as it was, which by the way was one of the more brutal scenes we've ever seen. Can we talk about Narcisse with his shirt off? I'll let you.
Hey!
Tell me.
No, that was just a good scene. Narcisse fighting with his shirt off. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I was surprised that it went that way. Because remember last week we saw the preview, didn't know what that was all about because it looked like Wolverine with them fighting. But I was actually surprised that Narcisse got down to that level and took one for the team like that.
No hesitation whatsoever. Yeah. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's just going to absolutely demolish this guy and it's going to be quick and easy. This got brutal.
Yeah.
It's not like Narcisse. And I love this response. Like, how does it feel? Well, it's better than being him.
Right, exactly. So he killed the guy, right? It looked like it.
You know what? I think as I see more and more things on TV and kind of this, in some ways, this show has been unrealistic about certain things and realistic about certain others.
You think?
What you find is that, you know what, it can be actually pretty difficult to kill somebody. So I think this guy's like very badly injured and he's not going to be up for a while.
Right.
But he'll live.
Okay.
You know.
I can buy that. I can definitely buy that.
So.
Right.
Still better than being him, though.
Yeah.
But I commend the show for going to that level because it was a very brutal scene. They just shot it. It's not like they used 800 cuts to this and that and shied away from any of it. It was all right. It was
very out of the norm of what we normally see.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And again, Charles not shocked by any of it.
Right. It just seems like he's been around. He's just so cool and calm and collected and about everything.
Yeah. And I'm glad it kind of comes full circle. He saves the day, and then unfortunately it goes the opposite way when they're at dinner.
Yeah.
So okay, it can't be Narcisse whatsoever, right? He's made Lord Chancellor, but why would he put himself through this hell?
Right.
To do any of this?
To do all that. No, it's the Red Knights, clearly.
Although it is interesting that he, I don't know what other solution there could have been, but to have taxed the poor people, like obviously he knew that was going to piss off everyone against the royals. So, Narcisse is not necessarily out of the running, but to me, it's very hard to pin it on him at this point.
You're right.
And I'm just curious.
I don't think I'd pin the poisoning on him. No.
A lot of people, we said that could it be Kristoff in some sort of weird way. We haven't seen him tonight.
Right.
Most of you disagree with that theory. I don't buy into that theory too much, but I'm just saying it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. Who knows? Anything is possible. We didn't see him tonight. Could be lurking in the corners.
Was it 13 men that died tonight, or just history of like the generals dying? There was about 13 people at that table. I'd have to recount. They kept going to why, like bird's eye view type shots,
right? Which
was nice because then you saw the scale of it, and if you counted, maybe there was 13.
There was about 13, so I would say, and especially because the calling card said history repeats itself. I'm guessing there was around 13.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot, and it's so emotional because Charles realized he's totally screwed on this one.
Yeah, he's way in deep on this,
and
all thanks to his mom. Who keeps just making it worse.
Yeah.
Worse and worse and worse. The people are mad. Now the army's going to be mad.
What would have been worse? Okay, could Catherine have just been like, oh, I have a lovely gift. Okay, why don't you just bring it here? And what would have been worse? Like if she was sitting there and everyone just died on her watch? Or for her to literally leave, see that, and then just see Charles still alive?
I think probably it's worse for her to go to her room, see that, because she doesn't know now if Charles is dead or not because he was drinking the wine too.
Do you think he was going to die?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I think, when Charles asked why would they do this, I thought it was a very simple answer: to torture you.
Right, exactly.
Like, why get off the hook that easily? They're not going to kill you.
Now everyone's going to be mad at you. Now there's just more of an army to take you down.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens because obviously Bash, at this point in time, has his mind made up that he's going to Scotland.
Which is so what?
Okay, so let's talk about that. Do we like this? Because it shifts the dynamic. Now we get.
It does.
We were just at a point, and I know you and Keaton didn't necessarily like the relationship. I actually talked to a few other people that I know that watch the show, and they're like, "I love Gideon. Can he come back?" And so we've essentially killed that relationship, especially after tonight's episode, because there's no way in hell we got to get Gideon out of here, which is the same reason why we didn't see Leith tonight, because we had to get that
out.
any notion of Leith and Greer.
It's not happening, people.
Yeah.
I know you wanted that to happen.
I did, and here's the, if you track it 100%, it doesn't, there was love there and they were the true one, but any notion of that we just have to get kind of past, and those are just smaller plot holes, and the easiest way to do that is just not to include them in the episode so we can out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But before we get to Greer, that I don't know.
How do you feel about this whole bash, pretty much? Going to Scotland, saying kind of in a way he still has love for...
I don't mind him going to
Mary.
Scotland. I think that's noble.
Uh-huh.
It just, I don't think Mary... It'd be weird. I think he can always... I think I buy his feelings for her, but what I don't buy is that she had feelings for him.
Right, exactly. And I don't even know if I buy his feelings completely for her, because that was so long ago and it was so short of a time that...
Listen, I buy... Okay, there are plenty of women in my life, like there's a secret ember that just won't... that you'll love for the rest of your life.
I got you on that one.
You
I totally
know.
got you on that one.
And, you know, just like Dudley and him, like, you perhaps get to a certain place where you know that it's not going to... Like, this is not the person for you.
Right.
But the
But you still
fire
got some,
exists. And,
right.
and
you got,
you
still
want,
got some love.
and you're willing to, you know, you would risk your life to save theirs. So, it's interesting, but I don't... I like how they weaved it together. I'm just not 100% sold.
I'm not sold. I'm not sold at all. No, I don't know. It came out of the blue. I think it's kind of odd. I don't think she has that type of love for him. I think she loves him as a friend, as, you know, the brother to Francis, and maybe once upon a time they had something, but I don't think she's feeling the same way.
Yeah, she's gonna give him like the long
pat.
Yeah, the pat on the back with the long outreach of arms.
Exactly. Oh, so sweet.
Yeah, I applaud Bash for
Hey,
putting himself out there,
yeah.
but just
You got to do it.
if there's anything that I'm curious most about in your guys' comment section this week or your tweets or whatever, it's this in particular.
Absolutely, me
is this
too.
warranted? Do we want this? It is
Where's
a
it gonna
shock to the
go?
system.
How, what, when, where, why,
Yeah.
all of that.
Hashtag, are they bashing?
I like that. I like
Or
that.
are they not bashing?
Oh, so quick with the hashtags, Phil.
Yeah, you know. If they had hashtags back then, they would have said the same thing.
Are they bashing?
Or are they not?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Mary's plan. I mean, what I love is her really coming together on all of this, and she finds out about Greer, and right away she knows exactly what to do, and she knows that she can't really involve Catherine. Like, she's really learned to play these things really well and just make fast decisions.
Mm-hmm. No, she has, and I like the fact that I think she's just coming into her own, realizing that she's going to be going to Scotland and she's going to be trying to take over as the ruler there. I feel like
in her new white wardrobe.
Exactly. In her new jacket that she got, which I don't know. I was like, okay, doesn't she have jackets in France? Isn't it kind of the same type of coldness-ish? Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I think she's really growing as a queen.
And I don't think we caught his name, but the guy who's leading the mercenaries, he's like, okay, fine, I'll go with your plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think a clever plan to test them. Like, hey, steal this guy and you got the job.
Right. And he does it. We see, what's his name?
Which one?
Greer's
Castleroy.
husband.
Aloysius. Castleroy.
Aloysius, yes. It's that name. Gets me
Yes.
every time. Aloysius. But yeah, I mean, the mercenaries do it. I was glad that she was able to get the money from the Vatican, even though the Vatican didn't want to help France.
That was interesting.
That was very interesting. He's like, yes, Mary, you can have, the 100, whatever. And Catherine's standing right there. No, sorry, we just can't spare any for you, Catherine.
To be fair, Mary only needed 100K.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine needed at least $500,000.
Yeah.
So, a bit of a price difference.
True.
So who knows? But I didn't. The only part of Mary's storyline that I didn't quite. I was like, why is this going this way? When Castleroy comes back injured, because I didn't know where it was headed, and it ended up not really mattering.
No, because he was fine by the time we saw him with Greer.
Yeah. No.
And that was so short. I was kind of on the same page with you on that. Like, why is he injured? And
because it could have also led to the fact of like, well, the mercenaries did get him out, but we lost half the troops, and obviously that affects then us going to Scotland and so forth. So we'll see. Maybe it comes into play later, but I just didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't see where that was going.
So it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Greer, finally, girl and girl,
Yes.
best friend and best friend, talk it out. Why couldn't we have this from the very get go?
Forever ago, Mary finally figures out that she's pregnant, that Greer's pregnant, which we were talking about before. How could you not have known? I mean, it wasn't like Greer was super hiding it very well. But I was glad that Greer, told her what she wanted to do. And Mary was, of course, being supportive, as girlfriends should be. But yeah, I mean, all of that could have been avoided. All those feelings of tension could have been avoided had Greer had just told her from the get-go. And I think Mary would have understood.
100%.
Yeah.
But I also, in some strange way, what Mary did tonight, I don't think could have happened at a different point in time.
Right.
So that's kind of, she would have had to come up with a different solution, and I'm not sure what that solution would have been.
Right.
And I thought Mary gave a lot of great speeches tonight. The fact that, again, we revisited the whole idea of her being raped, and she was like, okay, like, that's, but I'm stronger than that. Mm-hmm. And I am my choices, and that
was a good speech.
She doesn't take that lightly in any sort of way, but she can grow from it, and that doesn't define her.
Right.
And that's, and to rescue Castleroy, to be able to do this for her friend, like that's one of the, it's a very selfless act.
Right, it is. Now, how did you feel, because when Castleroy said to Greer, like, why, I didn't even think like you loved me, did you think that she really loved him that way enough?
No.
Or do you think it was more of convenience, like I need a husband? And
I always thought it was a little bit of convenience for the most part. There was a moment where I thought it was going towards love, and then they kind of, again, because it didn't always 100% track for me, Laith got brought back into the picture, and you can see, like, talk about embers, right?
Right,
whenever
yeah.
they're on screen,
there was some chemistry.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would have liked to see him expand upon his reason of, like, I can't do that. Well, is it why? Because you know that she doesn't really love you, and you feel cheated at it? Like, what is that?
Why?
What
right.
We very subtly were told, and I don't know. I would have liked to see more.
Yeah.
I want to interview Castleroy and be like, what were you thinking? So.
Exactly. No, I would have wanted to see more, especially, I mean, I got the fact that he said, I've been in jail, it changes me, but I thought it was really harsh how just right off the bat he said, I can't do this.
But at the same time, I respect.
I get where he's coming from, for sure. Because if I were to get out of jail and, like, let's say my husband had a baby with somebody else and we're still married, and it was like, I want you to be the baby's mom. Okay, we're gonna have to talk about this.
Well, that's what I don't like is he made a very fast decision,
right?
And then immediately changed it. That's my whole thing. If he was like, you know what, Greer, thank you for seeing me. This is just a lot, really fast. Truthfully, right now, like, I don't know how to process this. I want to say no. It just
right.
need to build to that, not go from one to the other in a matter of a song and a quick speech.
Yeah, they're just moving this along.
Although a great song, and,
right? And
they did, it was very emotional. So I there's aspects of it. There's many aspects of it that worked, and I thought, as much as I'm nitpicking some of it, I thought overall, they did really well, and they did. Whatever plot holes they were, they tried to just blow us by, and I thought overall it did work.
Yeah.
I thought the artistry of the music and the scene and acting was great.
Yeah.
So 100%, and then so they're leaving for a warmer climate,
going to the south.
I like Greer's speech of, like, listen, we were here to make you and find your way at court. You've done that.
Yeah, so there's pretty much nobody left with Mary at all, except Lola's still in the picture when she gets to England and Scotland.
Hopefully. We'll see. I want to see how that develops.
Me too. I'm really interested to see where that all goes.
But I still, there was that comedic moment, and Mary recognized it of like, why does everyone that I like just, I lose them?
Right.
He's like, am I nothing to you?
So true.
And then just going the complete opposite of way of, again, just dropping the bomb. Like,
I love you. I still love you. Yeah.
Oh, Bash.
Yes, Bash, Bash, Bash. Although we're happy he was in it a lot more.
Listen, they gave him something tonight.
Yes, they did.
So, and I thought he, as an actor, Torrance did fantastic. So
he always does. Yeah.
Congratulations there. No shirt off for Bash tonight, but
boo, shirt off for Bash.
Shirt off for everybody.
Shirt off for everybody. There you go.
Why not? All right. Anything else that we missed that we want to touch upon? I think we got most of it. Overall, again, if you think about it, very dark episode. I would say this is an R-rated episode.
Really? No.
Between the violence and rapes and whore, we got to pay our soldiers with whores.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
You've gotten tainted with TV. And
I guess I have.
You think it's all PG.
It's not.
This was
unless
a dark
it's
episode.
HBO.
All right. Castle Corner time. We're going all the way to Poland. That's right.
Nice.
We've even pulled up some Polish classical music.
I love it.
We're going all the way to Bobolice Castle. It was built by King Casimir the Third, the Great, in the middle of the 14th century, probably in place of an earlier wooden structure. The castle was a part of the defensive system of royal strongholds protecting the western border of Poland. And in 1370, immediately after becoming king of Poland, Louis I the Great, why do they gotta?
I know.
Can't this be one?
I know.
Granted the castle to Władysław, Duke of Opel, as a prize for his support of the king's dynastic plans. 9 years later, the castle was leased to Andrzej Schno. Schoen, a Hungarian from Barbalos. The new owner manned it with Germans and Czechs who robbed local inhabitants and conspired with the Teutonic Order. Dissatisfied with their behavior, the Polish king, Władysław Jagiello, invaded Bobolice in 1396 and took over the castle with adjacent estates. From that time on, the stronghold was owned by a number of families, and so on and so forth. That's a little bit of a brief history of the castle. Now, it's a rather small castle. Kind of, imagine like what your rook on a chessboard looks like.
Right.
It is what it is, right? It's defensive fortress style. It's kind of goes higher up. We have some interior shots for those of you watching on video.
Checkered floor.
Efficient for what it was. It's got the not the stone, but it's what do you call it? Drywall-esque kind of exterior. But overall, a nice castle. I'm sure worth visiting. I've never personally been.
We should go. All these castles.
I wonder how many castles there are in the world.
So many.
Absolutely. Well, there's Castle Corner. So, without further ado, let's hit predictions for next week. We're getting a nice mix of prediction music and Polish music. That's
nice.
right.
I love this.
I like
love
this
the
remix.
Music. Yes. It's a mashup right here. Okay, so my prediction for next week, obviously we see that Mary's finally going to Scotland, or she's going to be on her way, which I'm so excited about. I have a feeling that something's going to happen with Bash. He's not going.
Oh.
I don't know what. I just have that feeling.
This episode was called, it had death in the title. Mm-hmm. And after what Keaton said last week, I thought Bash was going to die tonight.
Right.
He didn't.
Right, so maybe it's next week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Poor Bash.
I know.
I loved you so much, but the Ember dies here today. But you keep going.
Exactly.
I give you some firewood to keep the fire going.
I love it. I would really like for him to actually go with her, just because I do think she needs a friend and somebody to protect her and look out after her. But I just have this feeling something's going to happen and he's not going to be able to go.
I think he'll make it to Scotland.
Yeah, and then you think something's going to happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I could see that. It's a possibility.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they've kind of where Elizabeth is a threat, but she's not a direct threat, because we have gotten to like Elizabeth right now more so than anything. John Knox is the person we have to
watch out for, right?
And regain back from Scotland, and then eventually the pieces will fall where they may, and then she'll deal with Elizabeth, if at all.
Yeah.
After all, as she says, that's still my cousin.
Yeah, she still has that loyalty towards her blood cousin.
Yeah.
In some ways. And then something's going to go down, obviously, with the Red Knights. Hopefully that'll come to a head and we'll figure out who's behind it, what's driving it.
They always have to, again, I really like how they progress this thing forward, but they always manage to tease us in the best of ways, sometimes in the worst of ways of just tell me who it is!
Right, exactly.
I just want to know.
Well, I figure we have to know soon, because pretty soon the story is going to be going with Mary, I would assume, to Scotland. So things are going to have to get tied up in France, unless they're going to have two different storylines going.
I think, 3. You got English court, you got French court, and Scottish Battlelands.
Oh, wow.
We got a lot going on.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of rain. I love it.
We got a lot of rain still left. So thank you guys for joining us yet again. As I mentioned, Keaton will be back, and fingers crossed for JB before the end of the season. I think there's definitely one episode that'll happen. May not be the finale, but one of the episodes. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us. We love being here with you every single week, and then reading your guys' comments. You guys...
They're awesome with the comments and the tweets. We love getting the love from you guys.
You guys, every time I read the tweets, I feel shamed. I'm like, I never thought of that.
Right?
Like, why don't you host the show? Come on.
Come on over.
So, yeah, keep it coming. It's always wonderful. In the meantime, where can people tweet you?
People can tweet me at Alina Vision, and follow me on that on all of my social medias.
That's right. And follow us here at AfterBuzz TV, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Woohoo!
Yep.
Check out the new website, and there is an app being rebuilt and relaunched soon. Don't worry. We know. We know. For those of you using the app, you'll know what I'm talking about. In the meantime, like I said, go to the new AfterBuzz TV website and check us out there. Many, many great things coming up for you. Bye for now.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.